Hey dudes, it's your friend, the Reverend Pirate Frog. Come join me in the circle with my bearded brother, Howlingbuds, the poet laureate himself, Stoney Alpinist, and of course, the better half of Frapple and my friend, Johnny Apple. Pass to the left and let's have some fucking fun. Welcome once again to, it's normally the circle, but this is more of a triangle because Johnny's bailed out. But because Johnny's not here, I think this is a good time to introduce everyone and get straight to business. So, Howling, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well.
Awesome.
Great to be here.
Stoney?
Episode number 10, my friend.
Ooh, holy shit.
Yeah, a little surprised. I actually had to go digging a little bit for it, if you could believe that.
I know, it's terrible. It's hard to count 10.
Terrible, right? We hit double digits.
That's amazing.
We're screwed. Now we're onto the toes counting. Shit.
I know, man. Earlobes come next after that, my friend.
Well, that's amazing. Celebrating Landstones with Landstones, Jesus. Oh, okay. Celebrating without Johnny, as it should be. Also, without Johnny, let's get straight into business. It's the one time generally where we can get serious discussion right out of the tape. Right out of the tape. No, I'm just kidding. Grow together. So I know that the Mango Smile Grow Together wasn't technically about me, but I did. Or Johnny started the first and last technically, but I did actually just harvest mine. Last night. It's whatever, but we have to actually come up with a solution. We said we would, and it's only been what, like 200 days? How many? Did you have an exact count?
140.
Yeah, he's been counting pretty much every day to remind us, like, hey guys, it's 140, 120, 125.
That sounds like an acceptable time frame to finally get something done.
All I know is that morning of that day, I was planting, and some reason through a shop vac and not putting the seed in the hole. You fuckers took forever.
That is fair. It is completely Johnny's fault. He's not here, remember? No, but so we've decided. Finally, after 146 days,
and thousands of options,
the amount of consultant fees that we paid is insane. But we've decided. Who wants to break the news? I'll fucking do it.
Yeah, it's about time.
No, so in true Yag fashion, we're gonna keep everything as community as we can, but to help our community, knowing our community, that is the chaos monster that they are. And quite frankly, our community generally has something out for us. So it only make it harder for us, which is respectable. But we're going to narrow the selection down from everybody's pictures. So everybody's going to submit one final picture, whatever one they think is the prettiest, best, whatever one. Generally, if there's a picture of a dude climbing it, you probably got Stoney's post, but kind of play up. But the one picture you want, submit it, and we're going to narrow it down to 4, and then the community is going to vote on the 4, and the winner is still going to get the trophy that I'm going to make custom for the winner, and we'll explain the whole trophy thing in more detail later. But
show us your photos. Like, show us what you've got. I mean, it can be your absolute favorite photo. It can be one that was really creative. It can be your very last one. Just as long as we see the whole plant. Want to see how it looked to compare against everyone else's. But really, it's more than just what the thing actually looks like in the picture.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've been watching all along, and we've been kind of paying attention. So there's so much more involved to it. So again, send us a picture in, and then here's the key so that we can help with some sort of semblance of voting and make this easy, or somewhat level of easiness, is give us a 3-digit number with it, right? Whatever picture you want to send in with it, just give us your favorite 3-digit number. If for some reason, somehow, some way we cross over with 2 different numbers, we'll figure that out along the way. I mean, we are your average crow, exactly. But somehow, some way, just send us a photo, post it into the Discord. Let us know, into the Mango Smile page with a number. We'll compile them all, and then the fun part comes.
Oh, yeah.
The community gets to be in on this one.
And if you want to get a 1-up, I don't want a 2x2 picture. I want one where I open the magazine and the pages fold out into one big centerfold. All right.
I think those
don't hold back.
I think that He wants to be taken back to finding certain magazines in certain woods, but
Yeah, I was gonna say there's an entire generation
I know
listening
that
that
has
has
no
no
idea.
idea what you're talking about, Howler.
They're like,
An
"What are
entire
centerfolds?"
generation.
Fuck, I'm so
Yeah.
old.
Oh,
It's acceptable. It's
that
acceptable.
rite of
But
passage left when the internet became more mainstream, sadly. But yeah, and don't think it's got to be. Send us what you think is your best picture. I want to see what your opinion is. You know, what you find beautiful. But yeah, we'll get a trophy going, and with that, I want to talk about closing one chapter and opening another. Howling. Now that you've
Yeah.
seen how I plan and operate a grow together, how are you going to try to get as close to perfection as I achieved?
You know, it's big shoes to fill, but I'll try. So yeah, some of us already harvested mango. Rev just harvested recently. So we're wrapping up one chapter and it's like, let's get on to the next one. We don't like to wait too long between grows here. And some of the crowd favorites, and I know our favorites, is hazes.
Oh
So
yeah.
we're gonna start the hazy summer here. Rules and details will come out very shortly, but I mean, essentially, it's you need to have somewhere in the lineage haze, um, and you just pick the one that it's not a particular strain like Mango Smile was. It's you champion the haze that you love and you want to show off. So we're gonna have the one hazy summer, and judging around this will be a little different. We actually are, we're talking and begging really people to feel bad for us and come be a judge of the next grow along
It is
or grow together.
in true Yag fashion. We've begged and pleaded and then and
Yes.
blackmailed.
Yeah, those video recordings came in handy.
I thank you again. Deep fakes are impressive.
Yeah, so we'll have a judging panel. We're going to have a few different categories that you can be judged in. Still working out the categories, but stuff like you kind of see in grow togethers like soil or synganics or best overall looking one. And so we have some judges that are going to come on board and help us with that. And then along the way, we'll have some giveaways. We'll be putting together some packages. So yeah, it's going to actually feel like a more official, slightly above average grow together for us. But those details will come out shortly, and we're thinking probably mid-June-ish is probably a good time to start. That'll give everyone time to have their mangoes done, harvested, dried,
Mostly
get ready
smoked.
for the next season. Mostly smoked. Yeah.
Gone by this point. Yeah.
But and
yeah.
in true Yag fashion, we will be quite liberal with our starting times, giving everybody, we understand basically. We belong to a certain club of failing to get things done at certain times, as
We're finding our way.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, we're evolving away from what this one was. We've learned some lessons from it, and I think there's a lot more fun things. And we've seen some great examples going on right now in the community that of grow alongs, grow togethers, whatever the new names that you want to call them. Some of them are way out there. They've got new prizes coming up every week, huge, gigantic sponsors, all of those things. We just kind of decided we needed to find our own way with this one, and we felt like there needed to be more involvement with some judges, bringing more of the community involvement into it, and just spreading the word a little bit. I think the haze idea is really cool. It gives people a chance to start really thinking and dig into and start looking around. Like, you probably have something in your seed bank with some haze in it, and if you don't, start looking, because it's something, especially with some of the breeders that we know and have some connections to, you can certainly find some stuff sooner than later. And in June will be here, mid-June will be here, sooner than you know it. It will be a full into the summertime. So, start thinking now, start asking around, jump into the Discord, see if there's anyone that wants to do a little bit of conversations, and maybe we can make sure that you've got some beans that fit into the haze. So
the good news about haze is it's in pretty much everything.
Right.
For a good reason. And it's one of my favorites. So I'm doing a full haze grow. I've got like all 3 earth boxes are on haze. I've got some other stuff that isn't, but mostly haze. It's a hazy summer. And if you need any, point in the right direction, Howling and I have been having discussions on discovering what haze and shit. Like, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity in this one, so have some fun with it. Jump in. You'll see more rules to come out, and all of the guidelines and all that sort of stuff, but it's nothing going to be super official. I mean, I think you know us well enough
Yeah.
by now. And if you're joining us for one of the first times, and go back and through our Discord and listen to our Grow Together as they unfold, this will be an evolution. I mean, if we don't always evolve, if we're not continuing to make things a little bit better each time, then it's only going to get boring for all of us. So, we wanted to get more prizes into it. More things that we can hand make, more things that we can do.
Yeah, I can promise you that if I'm involved, it's not got too many rules. If Howling, Stoney, and I sat down and all agreed to it, I think there's a lot of great compromise in there. And it's also, it's super important to us all that there's chances to win for every level.
Right.
Everybody
and
can
unique
win,
prizes
and unique
too.
prize. And it is, it's not going to be everything's going to have meaning, and a lot of it's going to be homemade, which is super rad. And that's all I can really say about some of it, except for the trophy too. It's another unique trophy because the winner of the mango gets to keep the trophy, but the Yag Cup goes forward, right? So the next winner of the Haze competition gets to keep the cup, the trophy that gets made, and is the Yag Cup. They just got to give up the theoretical title to the next winner. So it is bragging rights, and then ultimately your own trophy, which is super rad.
Pretty cool little totem to keep in your garden too, man. I mean, even if it's a trophy that no one knows what it is.
And if they do, they judge you fiercely for having.
So yeah, lots of fun ones with this Grow Together.
But yeah, check out more. We wanted to get the business out of the way because knowing us, if you've listened, and if this is your first time listening, why the hell did you pick here? But congratulations. But you know us, we're about to get off the rails. So business out of the way.
Check. See?
I have mental exhaustion this week at a high level. So I'm hosting, surprise. But our good friends Howling and especially Stoney have given me so much information and basically a script to follow that helps me out. But before we get into that, I'm going to throw a curveball. I want to hear about your gardens. I have been so goddamn busy that I feel left out. Take me away.
Wow.
In fact, I'm going to do what every good host does, and I'm not going to direct that question at anyone again. And I'm just going to say, no, I'm just kidding. Take me away, Stoney. Yeah. I'm going to start with you.
Well, I was going to jump right into it anyways. It's nice to, give over the reins a host for an episode, and it's nice to just kind of sit along.
Don't get used to it.
Just one. All right, fine.
I won't get used to it. I've already hated myself.
Yeah, lots of exciting things going on in the garden this week. I pulled a lot of this stuff for the outside garden, meaning some of the flower starts and some of the tomatoes and some of the peppers are started. They came out of the tent and I started to kind of harden them off a little bit, sitting on top of the ping pong table. I still have an old 100-watt Spider Farmer that helps to provide a little extra light over the stadium, the arena of ping pong in the basement. So I've just got everything hanging out there, hardening off. I'd like to take them outside for usually the day. Once it starts to get to about 11 or 12, it gets really blaze in the sun. I try and bring them in, but a couple of days of that and hopefully get them outside fully in the next week or so. Fun stuff throughout the garden though. Let's see, go youngest to age, I think right around 20 days or so would be the Pinot Noir for the grow along with the Girls on the Grow team. I've got Fern, who's my Pinot Noir with that one, and then Bonnie Doon is my double grape. She's just like 7 days older than that, so at 27 days. My Creme de la Compton is turned into the giant beach ball that I am starting to anticipate from it, and then wondering if that's where the Wilson name kind of comes into play with it. But it's one of the most unique looking plants I've ever seen or I've grown so far, especially in the shape, because it's like stayed in this cool little like puffed out mound ball shape, right? And it's long, really thin leaves that are unique, and just the structure of the plant is gorgeous, and the bud structure on it is so cool. So I'm loving watching that thing grow. Actually went in just the other day and had to snip out a little bit defoliation just to open up some space and get some light into some of the little bud spots into it. Big excitement for, this is my favorite time. And I know a lot of people love the starts and love that first couple of weeks, but I love when they're around at 35.
Howling's favorite time is day 1 to about 15.
Some people just, really get into those first couple weeks when they're young and they're tender. And
I don't get it.
I don't know. I'm still Yeah, it's really like
It's new
around
life.
30, 35 days. Yeah, I mean, it's fun, but it's like when you start to hit that stretch, 30 days, 35 days,
When they
you
Now
kick
start to
in.
that's the
really
fun.
Yeah,
see, yeah, the
they
structure
start
of the
changing
wood.
so much.
Yeah. And you know, now that I've grown several of Big Green guys, the
Who?
structure that he has, the Big Green
I
guy, I don't
never
know if
heard
you've
of
ever
him.
heard of that guy. He's a nice fellow that we know a little bit about. Um,
Never gets old.
everything Everything that I've grown from that guy looks like a perfect candelabra. It's just beautifully structured. Everything is well and evenly spaced. There's really, I've yet to ever have a need to go in and defoliate anything. It is just an incredible structure. This is the thickest stem I've ever grown on my Odinsons, but I think that's kind of
I was
par
gonna
for the
say, I
course.
have heard that from so many
Yeah,
fucking people that it is cliche at this point, and that
it
says
is
a lot.
crazy, dude.
When that
It is
when you've
crazy.
mentally checked, "Oh, yeah, again, another one," out of that, like, you shouldn't just move past that. That's like, when you get told that quite a few times, that should be more than just like, "Oh, yeah, that happened." Like, holy crap, man.
Yeah, it's remarkable, man. I mean, and it just creates the structure for the height on it. I mean, it's almost 4 feet,
Jeez.
and 39 days,
Wow.
and still going. It feels like. And then you know, one of the cool things I have is I'm been experimenting a lot with different size pots and shapes, and now I'm even starting to move into some different kinds of soils and testing those out to see. And so I've got two Odinsons sitting next to each other. One of them is going in the autopot. She's the one that's just, you know, enormous at 4 feet. And there's another one that's sitting in a giant ceramic one that I pot that was, I think it holds about 5 gallons, maybe 4.5 gallons, that I pulled in from outside last year. And of course, it sits perfectly within the shape of the pot. But structure on it is just a relative shrinking down of it. It's the same relative structure and height and spacing. It's just incredible.
That's
It's
great.
just really remarkable. The real advantage is, even though it's got relative size, the amount of bud sites are almost identical. So it is much more dense at a smaller size. So super cool to watch the two different sizes develop. You know, one is getting watered every 2 to 3 days, kind of was just messing around with, let's see what the old dry bank does. And then of course the other one on auto pop, both receiving the same potion,
Mhm.
right? So both getting the same juices down the road. They got a little bit of a top dress, I think a little about a week or so ago. I just kind of scrummed some into the top of it, and then I always make a potion and pour that
Yeah.
over, and that kind of gets everything running down, even with the top of the autopots. And then most exciting, I think, going on for me this week, the one I've just been watching on the daily basis, because it's right at about 34, 35 days, are the testers that I'm running for Big Green Guy. This was the first time that I'd stepped into regs,
That's
right? So
right.
that's been really exciting for me. I had 5 that I started off in 1 gallons, and of those 5, I had 2 that turned to males, and the other 3, you know, of course, I was supposed to be doing this sort of culling down, because that's one of the advantages, and maybe we can touch base a little bit as we go along here on being a testers.
Of course. That's a great
But
idea.
he was really open. He was like, "Hey, do whatever you want with them," and so it was just so hard. I was really planning on one, right? Just putting one in. It's like, oh, I'll pick the best looking one.
Mhm.
But of course, my empathic and probably overly
They
compassionate
all look
heart
beautiful.
could not stand. And I was just like, well, we'll see, like, you know. And then I rationalized to my own self, like, hey, I'm doing some experiments with pots. So I took one and I put it into my Earthbox Junior. Was it about a week or so ago? Yeah, I guess it's been a week now. And so I took the 1 gallon, transplanted it into the Earthbox Junior, and surrounded it with nectar number 4.
Mhm.
So my first foray into cocoa. I took my rerun soil that I had re-amended into an autopot with another. And then that's when I was like, all right, I've got the third one. It was not the nicest, but I just couldn't do it. I just simply couldn't do it. So I now have a 1 gallon sitting like still in the original transplant pot, that I just water like kind of like every day. And now they are 3 very similar plants, but 3 very different flowers as I look at them.
That's awesome.
And I really am maybe going to be converting to some cocoa. The way that I see the structure growing is quite remarkable. Now, I will say, converting to cocoa trying to figure out a way of some sort of synganics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at what's in nectar number 4, it's pretty close to it. I won't say living soil, but there's a lot of amendments into it. So it's not just a cocoa blend. So I think you could even make it a little bit more alive. And I was like, hey, I'm just going to throw it in there with the same potion that's going through the autopots and just keep it in the normal cycle like I would. And I've had no problem keeping it nice and moist. The plants look incredible. There is definitely an advantage, or I see it. They're definitely better looking than some of the others. And then the one in the autopot is doing okay, but not as good as this one.
Now that
in the
nectar
Earthbound.
4, is that the nectar for the god soil?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
I took a look at their lines when I was trying to find some kind of liquid feed line when I
Mhm.
first started growing, and I have to admit that it's a little bit overwhelming. You have to remember all the Greek gods and
Yeah.
and what different packages.
Yeah.
And it was actually kind of cool though, because I kind of dove into the forums of people using it, and they really get into their potions. It really is that with Nectar of the Gods. It's like a
Mhm.
little of this, a little of that, kind of mix
Yeah.
this. It's not like a one size fits all system where just feed A
Oh,
and
no.
B and do this at this time. It is a collection of things that you kind of mix up your own potions, and yeah, it was quite interesting, and I love the naming. And the naming.
Yeah, I mean,
and I actually went through and read every bottle. That's just because like this is cool.
yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, when I first started going to the grow shop and I started picking the brains of Nick, I probably spent hours there with a notebook picking his brain. And one of the things that I know he was in at the time was using nectar. And I think he's still, yeah, I think he's one of the big reasons that nectar's around in such volume at our grow shop. He really stands on it. And he talked about it. He's like, everyone thinks that you get into, and nectar's kind of an advanced because you do have to kind of read your plant. You do have to kind of understand, and you can follow the cycle that they have, but there is a lot more to it. So he said, like, there are other lines that you can look into, but it definitely, I think might be something for the advanced. And so, when I went into the shop and I went looking for soil, I was like, I think I just want to just see, right? Because at my shop, I'm super fortunate to have a ton of different kinds of soils, and they buy it by the pallet. It really is. I mean, I'm very, very fortunate to have them around. And so I just went in there reading, and I think this is one of the things, if you were going in and starting to buy soil, flip over the bags, start to read them, start to understand what's in them, because you'll realize that there's a lot of similarity between them, and they use a lot of similar ingredients and things that you might have thought about. When you flip it over, you're like, oh, wait, I didn't realize that was going to be in there. And that's kind of how I was with the nectar number 4. I mean, I flipped it over and it's got perlite, it's got pumice, mica.
It's just flipping out the peat for the cocoa.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
basically. Yep. Yeah. But it's even got some sphagnum peat moss in it, right? Perlite, coir, basalt, clay, oyster shell, humus, lime.
Doesn't Mad Hatter runs organics in cocoa?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's quite a few people that
do.
I know that Johnny's experimenting right now with his cocoa is for seed starters, but I think he ran into an issue where he got hydrophobic, or I can't remember off the top of my head. I won't speak for him, but it didn't mesh well with what he tried to accomplish. We think.
And it's a total experiment for me.
Yeah.
It was, I've got reamended
I would
soil,
totally
and I've been hearing, and after a year now of growing in living soil, starting to just understand the medium of it, right?
Mad Hatter grows beautiful plants, man. And if whatever he's doing is working, so.
And even some of the folks in our community that just are adding like 30%, 20-30% of cocoa into their living soil mixture. They're using it to lighten it up. And especially with the autopots, I think there's a real advantage to having, or any sort of sub-irrigated system, right? Because I'm seeing it directly in the earth box. Like every time I, touch the soil, it's got a really nice tender, like I always compare it. The best thing I've ever been able to compare it to is like cake. Like it's like a nice fresh spongy cake without the frosting on it. If your soil kind of feels like that, then you've got good moisture going. It's got a little sponginess to it, right? I'm seeing that with this nectar number 4. It's incredible. I love it so far. So we'll see. I guess, there's always the concern about the nutrients being able to last. But with what I've got going through the res, and I'm going to try and keep on with the, I'll probably be doing some top dressings and almost just go with the entire method and technique that I've been going down the road with this organic path and living soil path. And I'm really just replacing out some of the cocoa within it. So
Yeah.
It's a small step. It's not like a huge completely. I'm stepping over to running salts completely in a different rev. Yeah, no, I just think that there's somewhere in between, somewhere in between, finding the balance, right? So that's the most excitement stuff. Yeah.
No, I totally get it because I'm actually running. It's not synthetic nutrient line, but it's not like 100% organic of the stuff like you would get from like Build a Soil. And I get like kind of this blend of styles and finding the right balance for what you need. How you and your plant can achieve the best outcome based on whatever scenario. Yep. You're finding the right product for it. That's all. You're growing still. You're growing your own medicine.
Yeah. Whatever makes it easier for you to get medicine in jars, man.
And styles abound.
Yeah.
Like find different styles. And once you feel, I know one thing that was important for me is I wanted to grow for a full year in one style and experiment within that year and play around with what I needed to learn around it. And then after that, I thought, hey, okay, I'm not going to completely switch. I'm not going to close the book on everything that I've learned organic. But now it's an opportunity to say, hey, how can I leverage it into the next steps of my grow? How does my grow now evolve? And can I have one that has some cocoa in it? Right next to one with there's no one making rules for me.
Exactly.
There's no one, especially in our community, that's the slightly rebellious as autoflower growers, right? We're kind of weird doing things as it stands.
Oh yeah,
right?
Man.
So experimenting in a different kind of soil and different kinds of mediums, like have fun with it. That's part of what we do.
Hell yeah.
Just part of what we do.
It's a hobby, right? Like,
right.
One of the benefits of a hobby is having fun because you don't take it too seriously. Otherwise, it would be a career. One of Howling's favorite things is when I say, "Oh, it's just a hobby and take it easy." And
it's making me fucking cringe. this word "fun."
Hey, man, yeah,
it's all in your approach.
Exactly,
dude. It's all in your approach.
I will tell you that
how you see it.
One of the benefits of having multiple hobbies is you can just switch your negative attention from one to the other.
There's a lot worse things you could be doing with your time.
Yeah.
Right.
You could be,
and there's probably plenty of other things that are more instantly gratifying. So it's, it really, you have to focus on what is the gratification from it.
And you know what? I can't complain about like this whole topic of fun. It's like you mentioned, you wanted to stick to one growing style for a year. I have never stuck to one thing for one
fucking grow.
I went
finish
from
how you start a single grow.
The only thing I did stick with is that it was very primarily organic based. Like that's the only thing. That's been the only concept, but everything else is from photos to autos to pot sizes to earth box, now auto pots. Like I have never done the same thing for more than one grow.
It is
not once.
It is a lot of fun, but and it is a lot too of the like chaos and fun that brings generally too, right? Like discovering new things, learning, especially with your logical mind, Howling. It's just like the extra homework that you enjoy. For the first time ever, it's doing homework you actually want to fucking do. But at the end of the day, as long as you're getting medicine, that's the fun. But if you don't enjoy doing it and it's become a chore, then try change something up. What's the worst that happens? You kill a plant.
Here's what I would say. I'd say if you're reaching that spot of burnout, which I would anticipate any growers going to reach that spot. I mean, I have only grown for a year, so I know that it's coming down the pike here, that at some point I'm going to say, man, this is driving me nuts. I have too much other stuff going on. Like I'm not totally naive. I know I'm even more so that way now than I was when I first started, right? Those first few months, man, there wasn't a single minute you didn't want to be in that garden. You weren't learning something and you weren't trying to think about this and going to the store and I can't wait to do this next week. And now I start to think about things. Okay, well, how do I automate a little bit more? How do I get 3-4 days before, where I can just go in there and enjoy my gardens, right? I was making teas all the time. Well, now I realize I don't necessarily need to make the teas. They don't need that. And I can get to the same same end result by doing a little bit here and a little bit there, and I don't have to have so much of a schedule. So I've evolved within my grow. And so I think if you hit that spot of burnout, like anything, and I think it's anything creative that we do, because at the end of the day, this is a creative thing that we're doing by making this plant, right? We nurture it, we steward it along. It's a creative process that we do. Stop doing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just
take
stop.
a break.
Take a break, because that's when you're going to find that you'll miss it. And if you miss it, and there's that spot where you're like, man, I want to do this, then it's a true passion.
Yeah.
And passion has to be fueled. You have got to fuel the passion. You cannot just walk away and say, oh, I love growing. You have to continually feed that fire. And sometimes you got to starve it. Sometimes you just got to let the smoke out.
That is true. I will say, though, one realistic point is a lot of people don't have a choice to not grow if they're growing for their own medicine. So in that case, try something new and see if it works or not. That often helps with me, right? Like if you spend all day looking at and doing one thing, doing something else is kind of makes time go by better and quicker.
Or go back to what we were saying a bit ago. Experiment.
Yeah.
Right? Keep your grow running the way that you normally grow to keep your medicine going.
And then find
a corner. Yeah, find a corner. Find one pot. Try one and see how that works for you and have a little bit of fun with it. And
I think we basically just described what Howling does, because he has his medicine tent and then he has his chaos tents.
But the chaos tents seem to overweigh the medicine tents these days, right, Howler?
That my medicine tents, they don't give me trouble because they're the photos.
Yeah,
they just go do their thing. But I do love my auto tents as much as they piss me off.
Well, that's a good segue, motherfucker. Tell me about your garden.
Yeah. We'll start with the beast, which is Odin's Sons.
Oh, yeah.
This thing throws celery stalks for leaf stems. I'm not joking. Like I go in there and I have to try to reposition clips or tie downs or something. If you just brush past one of these leaves, it is so rigid, it breaks off.
Wow.
Like it is just stiff. So it's been a really fun challenge. I think I finally got it into a state that I'm happy with, which is it's almost, it's still a few inches away, but it's coming close to touching the walls of the 3x3, which is what Mango did. So I really enjoy just seeing that canopy spread out like that. I don't like 4-foot canopies. They're just not for me. And so I'm really happy that I think I kind of caught it at the right time and it's working well. But it's been challenging. It's been a fun one because, one is this is a particular strain that I have yet to be scared with. Like even if I walked in one day, so I put a bud trainer clip on the main stem and bent it over, and I come back a few days later. The chick broke out of it, and not just broke out of it, she snapped herself to get out of it.
Jesus.
I'm like, you hulked out here. Like, what the hell? But the thing is still going strong. I don't think that there's anything that could set this plant back.
Wow.
It's a beast. So that's going well. And then I got my Mercury retrograde tent. Whoever thought that it was good to plant the day before its Mercury retrograde started, I have some words for them. Unfortunately, she'll cast a spell on me.
Amen.
But so I think I was really worried. My Mephisto tent that's running Double Smile and Pinot Noir had me really worried because they just had problems from the start. Just slow growth or helmet head or losing a cotyledon leaf right off the bat. It seemed like problem after problem, but I think that they're starting to hit their stride now. I think they're 29 days and they're starting to stretch. Double Smile is the only plant that I've ever grown that's had, I think as Stoney, you mentioned having like a 4-foot tall plant. And I see these things and they're kind of slender. They have like kind of a really defined structure of each node. There's not a whole lot of extra material or anything. I've never had a plant like that until Double Smile, and it's actually growing this way.
Mango's coming through.
Mango didn't even grow this way for me.
Nah, yeah, there's a lot of spaces between the nodes.
Yeah,
yeah. So it's definitely more of a thin leaf pheno.
Yep.
For sure. That's awesome.
So that's been really fun because I've never used training in the way that I am with Double Smile. So that's been a really good, interesting
I
experience.
bet.
Because I love putting a clip on a chick. Like I love it. And I was today,
Clip
like
that.
I
That's going
was
to be used in some fucking prosecution somewhere.
I was today. I was like,
Allegedly.
I looked at my plants. I was an addict because I ran out of bud trainer clips, and I'm looking around trying to find where I need 4 of them. Like, where can I
Oh,
get
that's
these?
funny.
I was going through, and luckily, I actually found them all in my drying tents. Like, they just fall off the plant, and they were on the floor, so I could do what I needed to. But they're going well. Double Smile is like going to be, so for perspective, Double Smile is in a 4-gallon pot or a 3-gallon pot, and Pinot Noir is in a 13-gallon auto pot XXL or XXL, which is super tall. And Double Smile is almost going to reach the same canopy height
Wow.
as Pinot. It's just crazy, the stretch difference between them. Pinot does not want, it just wants to produce leaves. It just does not want to get off the ground. So that one's interesting.
Yeah, I've seen that with mine too. I'm only like, what, 20 days into it, but it's just like it just spreads
It doesn't want
wider,
to. Yeah, it doesn't
right?
want to.
Just
It's a great flat canopy, but it just doesn't want to get any height. It doesn't want to get away from that soil. And it was that way from day one when the seeds sprouted. I could just tell. Like, I've never had a seedling stay that short for so long. It's like, you're going to be one of those. It's all right.
That was my mango when I harvested. It was the first. It was one of the weirdest ones too, because it was so close. Like everything was so close to the soil, I couldn't get my fucking cutters in there. And so I find like, so it broke into like 3 pieces from the stem and shit, and it was just so wide and such a fucking bush. But underneath was so much larf that I was like, okay, either hash or edibles. Like, you know, it was, the tops are okay.
I'm hoping, you know what? This one was actually, Pinot was selected mostly for fun. Actually, this was for the beauty of it. I saw some pictures
Oh
of
yeah.
what Pinot
Oh
could look
yeah.
like, and I'm like, I need a plant like that. I don't know what that's what she's going to turn out to be, but we'll see. But that's why I selected her. It's more for fun than anything.
It'll be some
So,
good broadleaf for you that you love.
I do. Which brings me to my 4x4 with the photos in it, and I'm super excited about that one. It has joint custodies, Blueberry BX2 and Blueberry OJ, and they are just this. The way I train them, they're just like this nice rounded bush, and it. I have 2 of these almost filling the 4x4. I'm trying to train it back because in one corner I have my tower fan, and the other one I have a radiator heater because it's in my basement. I need to get the heat up, so I have to have some heating in there. And for reasons, I can't heat my lung room, so it has to be in the tent. But I'm still filling out a whole lot of that tent, and that's been mostly hands off. It's just kind of doing its thing. It's
got the shape
day 5 of flower, I think, and has a beautiful shape. I think there's a couple things that could be trained on it. I just ordered another 2 packs of clips. I can't stop.
No more digging around
You
the
need
dry
to
tent.
make you a mold and get you a freaking press.
I really should, because at this
making your
point
own
it's just
bud
going to be cheaper.
Yeah, I know.
And so that's going well. And then I have my last tent, which is the Archive Seeds Puro Loco. And I'm really excited because this is it's kind of a compromise. It's the closest I can get to some Dosido lineage without actually having Dosido. They're, of course, they have the stranglehold on the Dosi strain, and they have some untested lines. And I didn't want to go down that route. So this is a combination of Moonbow, which is another one of their top strains, crossed with, well, shoot, no, I forgot. Anyways, good stuff. Yeah. And Dosi's somewhere in the lineage of it. Oh, it's in Moonbow. Moonbow is Dosi is one of the parents of Moonbow. So I'm really looking forward to that one. That one was a really slow grower. I was almost a week ago ready to yank it because I'm like, this thing is like day 50 something. It is just not getting the growth that I started looking at pictures of past photo grows, and I'm like, this is just not matching up. And then out of nowhere, she just decided to start growing, and I've almost filled up the 2x2 with her. She got flipped. This is day 2 now. So she'll fill up the 2x2 I have her in.
Excellent.
Yeah, so those I'm really excited. Now we're going to get to the point where most of it's automated now.
Sweet.
And like I even to like today went in, it's like, yep, that res is kind of going low. I'm going to toss some more in it and I'm done. I'm out. See ya. And actually it's kind of funny. Like a year ago, I've only been growing for a little over a year. And I started this progression of, I do change things every grow, but I couldn't really define the state I wanted to get into with the type of grower I was. And it took all those iterations to figure it out. And now I'm at the point where it's like, I really want to enjoy the plant itself. And I don't want to think about, like, I don't want to have the stress of I can't get away for a couple days or I need to go hand water this thing. So that's where it like led me to earth boxes. And now I'm trying out the auto pots, which has been an interesting experience, but still overall beneficial. And I think it's gonna be put to the test because Memorial Day weekend I'm going out of town and I'll be out for 6 days or so.
Are you taking the boat out?
Oh yeah, the boat. I'm picking up the boat Friday.
Oh.
It's going in the water Saturday.
See ya.
Yup, I'm out. Which will
yeah.
be interesting because I stink at driving a trailer.
Oh yeah.
It's not like a 50-foot yacht or anything. It's a 20-foot boat.
I can promise you, if you're aware that you're not as good as it, then you're better than the majority of people, my friend.
Oh, it'll be interesting picking it up from storage will be fine because that's kind of a straight on shot, but actually getting it off the dock and into the water will be, my son and I are going to attempt it this year and it will be interesting.
It is really easy, surprisingly, right? I grew up with boats and we would launch a lot like out of Dana Point Harbor, right? And we'd go to Catalina and do all that stuff. But one of my favorite things to do was to launch on the boat ramp and watch the other people successfully and or unsuccessfully try. And you always see the beloved, I forgot the drain plug, pull it out real quick, plug the drain plug in, pull it in. But you always saw a man who just got a brand new boat who has his girlfriend or wife trying to get it on the trailer and they're yelling at each other. Those are always my favorite. Or they don't have like lift up the out drive and they just pull on and you're like, oh, a lot of idiots with boats, but it is my favorite.
The worst is when they push it off the trailer because sometimes it just comes loose and it'll go off and they never started it.
Oh yeah.
It's like, you just got this thing out of storage. What do you think's going on here?
Do you have it is one of my favorites. It is, especially around where I live. There are a lot more people with too much money and not enough intelligence. So you often see really nice boats come into the water and you're like, that idiot should not be, like it is fun, but that there is an actual conversation that I wanted to have. I just fucking forgot it. Stoney, help me out. Oh, testers, you brought it up. I wanted to talk about that again because Howling had some points that he can bring up, but I personally don't do testing or anything like that. Not because I am against it. It's mostly because people don't like me and refuse to talk to me. No, I'm just kidding. But you are a tester, Stoney, and Howling, you have some experience in it. So what made you want to get into it, Stoney, and Howling as well? What made you kind of want to get into it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll lead off because it popped up, I would say maybe 6 months or so ago. Big Green Guy was I think he was around Cultivation Conversation and was on the Discords and around, and just kind of mentioned, hey, I've got some slots opening up on the tester team. If anyone's interested, send a message over to me. And I don't know, I mean, I just kind of I think I probably struggled with it a little bit, thinking my impression was that a tester would be someone who knew what they were doing, right? And that the idea is that, okay, I'm going to give you these magical beans and I need you to test and make sure that they're working well. And so I had this sort of like this concept that there's no way that they're ever going to want me. But so I kind of mentioned it. I think I talked to Johnny one day about it and asked a little bit around the tester thing. And I'd gotten a bunch of mixed information because I don't know that there is like defined. So I think it'd be interesting to kind of hear some more stories around testers. But I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, if you're interested in having someone who has no idea what they're doing and is trying to learn and figure all of these things out, and want to give it a shot, like I'm totally interested in doing it." And his reply back was so nice about it. He was like, "Absolutely, like you were the perfect example of what I'm looking for, because I want people to grow these things in a really varied way of growing." Any kind of medium that they want. And in your experience, like what I've seen in your photography and just in conversations, like you're perfect for it. So if you're interested in it, love to have you as a part of the team. So it was a real kind of casual. There was no contract signed. There was no agreements to it because I was nervous. I was like, "So what does this mean? Like, what do I need to do for you?" And he's like, "It's pretty simple. I'll send you beans.
You suck my
You
dick.
grow them.
Sorry.
You grow them. Put them in, and as soon as you can get them, the faster you can get them in. That way we can all stay together and take pictures along the way, talk about it, keep me informed how they're growing, and just stay close. And when you're done with them, let me know, and I'll send you, when you're ready for the next round, I'll send you some more." And it seemed so simple. And it was something that I was like, all right, the only thing that I could see was a commitment of time, right? Because it just is a man of honor. If I tell you that I'm going to test for you, it's my honor, it's my word that I'm going to do for you.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that it got into rotation. I also have just kind of signed on to test with Rudy. Rudy's starting to get a tester team together, and I've got beans that are sitting and waiting for the next round to come to him.
They're mine next too. I'm stoked.
Right,
Sorry.
a
Yeah.
little even more casual. Like he's even more casual about it. But um, Big Green Guy was really trying to get some out, and had a few in line, and he's got a really established testers team, and Rudy's on the tester team. So it was an evolution for Rudy to kind of transition into that. But back to the Big Green Guy and testing with him. That first round that I did, I had no idea what I was getting into. He sent the beans. They were just kind of labeled with a couple numbers or a couple letters and a number. And I popped them in soil, and they were, he's got several different styles. He says, "What do you want to grow?" And I told him, let's stick with auto flowers because that's, what I know best. And let's stick with feminized for now because it's what I'm starting to learn on. And then got started with it. I stayed pretty close on Instagram. I stayed in touch with him. We've got a Discord page within our tester team that we worked on, and then we're also pretty active in Instagram on a chat that goes as a long running thread in there. And there's people on the team from all around the world. It's like I stepped into this and I started, you get access into the link, and I started scrolling through and seeing the pictures of some of these growers, and it's like I was so humbled. And here I was growing with some of the best growers I'd ever seen, with some of the most incredible gardens. And these were cats that were growing from all over the world, the other side of the world, all around here, and then some incredible Hashishians. It's such a cool little thing to be a part of. So I know that there's a part of a community aspect to being a tester. But there was also something that was a little bit more important for me, and it was just the idea that, hey, I think there's something really big about Big Green Guy. I actually asked to have some conversation with him because before I wanted to commit to it, I wanted to just spend a little bit of time, and he was like super cool about jumping onto a chat. We chatted for almost like an hour and 15 minutes one day, and I just got to know him.
That's such.
So you don't go cold from the casting couch right to the scene.
No,
You just jump right.
he really takes full advantage of the
Yeah.
fluffer. I was gonna say, I really should talk to this BGG sometime.
Yes, seems to be a nice fella.
I don't know how you get through the Boston accent. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's really impressive. His team has some serious talent, and like you said,
Yeah.
they have some great hash minds too on that team.
Yeah, and they're
Bastards.
and
So
super
impressive.
experienced too. I mean, even in the last one, I popped in there, and I try and take pride to not ask people when I should harvest, but because I was looking to take the plant based on what I'd known of it, that it would be very medicinal, and I've got a very good friend that's struggling right now with some things, and it was important for me. I wanted to, with this being the most medicinal herb that I've grown before, it was important. So I, went into my team and I showed them the picture and I said, hey, this is when I would normally harvest. I'm thinking about harvesting, but I want this for medicinal. I want to make sure that he has an opportunity to, let this plant help out with some of the things that he's struggling with. So here's what it is. And what do you guys think? And, within 5-10 minutes, I had 2 or 3 of them from around the world say, yeah, let it go for another couple of weeks. You'll find better, better terpenes to come out of it. Big green guy came on and was like, give it at least 12, 14 days. And there was just something about it. I was like, man,
like he would know,
like how cool is this? Where not only am I able to kind of do this to help make some medicine for a friend,
yeah,
but here I have this tester team behind me, the guy who actually put it together and bred it. It just gave me a level of confidence. So of course I let it sit that time. And then, when I was able to share it, it was like, hey, this is really cool, man. My whole tester team worked on this and, we were all kind of in the common good for it. I let them know what he was struggling with. So super cool. So I think that's part of it being a tester too, is some of the community of it. Always, knowing and getting confidence from their thoughts when I post in there. But, now I've got these regs. So it was a new adventure he's kind of pushing me into. And new seeds coming down. And so I kind of just committed to always having big green guy seeds running as a part of the tester. I think that's something. Rudy with starting his testing his beans, he's, flexible on it. And I know once I get started, they'll be in constant rotation. And part of it is having that perpetual garden. I can get seeds started almost every 2 to 3 weeks. So,
oh, look at me. So cool.
Just a matter of time.
No, that is
just a matter of time.
It's such an ideal setup. And it is really cool to see like perpetual done right. I'm just jealous because I couldn't do it.
I'll get there someday. I'll figure it out somehow. But yeah. So yeah, being a tester for Big Green Guy is pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
I do really enjoy it. It's
now,
a lot of fun. Yeah.
When you do testing, is it, as I've learned, there's a couple different types of testers introduced at different parts of the cycle. And with BGG, are you testing out unreleased, don't even know if he'll release them ever type things? Or are you testing something is going to release? He just needs some more.
Yeah, we get code names.
Okay.
We get code names for him. So cool. It's, they could be crosses of ones that he's done before, but they're definitely ones that no one knows and sometimes don't even have names yet.
As much
the wedding, the wedding's desserts was unnamed when I got it.
As much as I pretend not to know him, I love him dearly, but he had something like 13 crosses and only 3 made it to his release. Like he is very particular and does such an amazing job that if there's anything that slows him up, he goes, nope, not ready. And just it's so he's very,
and he also, and within the team, we're not all getting the same beans. So he may be selecting a couple growers to grow a specific one as well. So pretty varied. I mean, some of his practices of what he's doing in his plant counts and the way that he's looking and his methodology to it is remarkable. It is really remarkable.
That has to be fun. Grow, my minions, grow.
Yeah.
Oh, he gets off on it, it. He checks in every morning. Everybody, how's your plants?
Yeah. No, he's really been great about it. I mean, I think that's the thing. Every time I pop something into Discord or into Instagram, he's always jumps right in and
So, Howling, what like different types of testing did you find in your testing research?
Well, it's just really, I mean,
I could assume logically that there are different kinds, but what did you find?
The two main ones that I found was either like what BGG is doing with his testers is you are testing crosses that may not even see the light of day. You don't even know what they are. He doesn't even know what they are yet. Like it's still in those early stages. Or there's testers that a breeder's already made the determination that this cross is going to make it to market. You're just going to provide some additional like evidence of growing it and help the community along.
Yeah.
Those are like the two main testers I saw.
There's some that are like early promotion too, which is awesome. Not knocking any of it, of course, but yeah, there's definitely some that like I know in talking with BGG. he encourages, like he has some, Howling or Stoney can talk more on this obviously, but he has some that he purposely tells, like, beat the shit out of this plant for me, please.
Mhm.
Like, don't feed it. Like, I don't want you, like, and that's some pretty hefty training from to tell your testers to
Hmm.
do, because it's so second nature too.
Well, I just
Yeah,
think
and
it's I think it's really being in tune with your market. I
Hmm.
mean, you're not selling to these big ass growers that have done it millions of times. You're selling it to the home grower,
Yeah.
and they're gonna put it through some things that you never even thought of. So you have to just kind of cover it because you want them to have a good final product out of it. They want to have good experience. You don't want one of these autos that is throwing pistols up at day 9 and showing a nitrogen deficiency just because you put it in some living soil. You want something that really could take a little bit of a beating,
Yeah.
and yeah,
And yeah, and everything that I've seen so far shows that the testing works. So, good job, Stoney.
yeah.
You guys are a great team. I'm even planning an Odinson. I forgot to mention that I'm planning an Odinson with my haze.
what,
Yeah,
what?
it's going in the Planters mixed nut container.
Oh,
It's gonna be
okay.
my can of bonsai attempt. But yeah, I'm
I
excited.
I think that Odinsons would do very well in a bonsai environment because you gotta have to put they're gonna go through some stress
Yeah,
both in your training and nutrients and everything. And I just don't know what you could toss at Odinsons that it won't take.
Yeah.
So it's good.
so good. But
Yeah, I mean,
sorry,
you
yeah,
were
yeah, yeah.
kind of talking about testers and different styles. I mean, if you go back to it and you really think about it, there's a couple branches, right? You can see it as a true testing and the ones that are looking for sort of research and development and scientific approach to it. And that really comes down to numbers, right? If you've got someone that is a breeder, then you can now have, say, 20 to 30 people growing exponential numbers of plants. You now have all of this great data to look at.
Absolutely.
The other perspective, I think, can be a marketing perspective, right? And as to what you were saying of like how they're like they kind of know what the seed's going to be. It may be an early release,
Yeah.
right?
Or I mean,
But
you got to give it, maybe, of course, barring some horrible, like, oh shit, every seed grows, terribly, they'll pull it. But yeah, I mean, if they're established and they're getting the word out there, it's also great because, when they're doing the early testing, they're not taking as many pictures, right? And so it's
right,
not documented.
exactly.
And
Hmm.
this is a very visual
Right,
marketplace. So if
right,
you ain't
and
got pictures, people, even if it's well established, if you don't have pictures, sometimes people looking online, not knowing necessarily who you are or anything, are like, oh, well, fucking next. So,
yeah, I mean, I think you can be really effective at marketing
mhm,
and getting people to do because it really is guerrilla marketing,
yeah.
right? Because if you can hand select and create a premium position to be able to have these seeds ahead of the rest of the world, and now all of a sudden, if we can pick folks that take great pictures, well, now we can flock the market and let all these beautiful plants be seen without having to pay for it. And when they do look a little messed up, well, it's not on our skin because it's on the other
Yep.
growers, right? And that takes a little bit, it gives a little bit more insulation from it. So it can be a brilliant strategy, especially if you have to do guerrilla marketing. I mean, think about some of the breeders that we deal with. Yes, we have a couple of breeders that have done incredible jobs at marketing strategies,
Hmm.
right? And have really looked at what the future of the autoflower is and where it can go and from a marketing perspective.
Yeah.
We have plenty of folks that don't have marketing degrees, that don't have marketing backgrounds, and that really are breeders that are just trying to get their seeds out there, their names out there, trying to get it.
Oh yeah.
To get an effective little marketing plan like this, to get people to take pictures of it and post and to have these links and have it be a genuine perspective, then that is it's the word of mouth that people will pay billions of dollars for marketing. So it really is like, I think it's all in how you embrace it as a quote unquote tester, right? Because you could be into the marketing side of it, or you could be really using us for data,
Yeah.
right? And that's really what it boils down to.
And again, there's like, I don't want to make it sound like negative at all. You know, using it for getting the word out there is great, and there's nothing wrong with it. You know, the only time it ever becomes a problem, of course, is if you try and like if you're trying to squash things. If you send stuff out and everybody says positive stuff about something that isn't positive, then that's the only time it ever becomes an issue. And you're like, wait a second, nobody had a goddamn issue.
Right.
Like, me existing, I know that there are issues in this world. But yeah, no, it's interesting because it is whatever floats your boat, right? Like I can imagine if I was like, let's take BGG for an example, right? Everybody knows him. He's passionate, and he's doing what he's doing for the right reasons, to get the right medicine into right people's hands, right? And for a fair price. He could so benefit from some, you know, dude that could come in and make it flashy and come in and change it. But then he loses the passion, I imagine, right? Like that's not what he's doing it for. So it almost becomes sometimes like, you can tell, like, I can trust BGG's beans because 1 in 100 becomes a stable genetic for him to continue in his mind, right? Like we were talking crosses and the stuff that him and I were talking, like, that he had already thought about and attempted, and was like, yeah, it didn't work out, you know, for this reason or so, or what he thought, you know. That's impressive, and to be a part of that testing team is interesting. So I can see why you and Howling are interesting. But Howling, I got to say, what did you find? I imagine, I put words in your mouth a little bit, but I imagine that's the reason you wanted to do it too, right? It's a very noble thing to help test for, you know, that kind of reason.
Yeah, you know, it's pretty interesting to just give another perspective of, especially with like my growing. I have a mixed success, especially with autoflowers. So it'd be really cool to kind of give another perspective of, hey, it could be grown this way, and these are the challenges I'm facing. You have a hand in it. You may not pick what it's crossed with or anything. You might not pick the genetics, but you're going to pick if it's going to be released based on the type of grower you are. And maybe it's just you gave a perspective and saved the next grower, or help educate them of how best to grow it. And so that really appealed to me. I did find, after a lot of failed attempts of trying to gain attention from a breeder so I could be a tester, I decided to reach out to one. And so I reached out to Jinx Proof because I heard him from the Stash podcast, and he talked a little bit at length about his testing process, which I thought was pretty cool because he's coming back from the subcool days. He's been burnt so many times by people just wanted free seed. He has a good process now that even if he has a name for it, he won't tell you. You don't have a clue of what you're getting or what the parents are or anything. It's, here's some seeds, plant them. And that's your first intro to being a tester with them. It's kind of like, he'll get feedback from you and see if it's going to go on beyond that one set of free seeds that you got. However, it didn't work out. I talked with him and thought it'd be a really cool opportunity, but ultimately it comes down to our bullshit laws. He'll send you 8 seeds. He wants you to pop them all, and all females he wants you to run so you can start comparing pheno. And I think in general that sounds awesome, but I live in a bullshit state with some plant count laws. And while we don't talk about plant count, I also don't like to poke the beehive a little too much. And so if I came out like 6 or 7 females out of those things, not only am I over my plant count and he's expecting me to run them all, but that's all I get to grow if I want to try to respect that law. And so that really stunk. I was just like, fuck. I'm like, this state is screwing me over. Like, I can't help a breeder out to get good medicine out of there without breaking a law. And so that sucked.
And isn't it ludicrous to think that the plant count is stopping you when they have no idea what, like, you could have it should be canopy space, man. I have grown some tiny weak ass plants, man, and also one massive one that was the same really, as, you know, like
I've pulled an ounce off in an auto, and I've pulled a pound off like Mango Smile.
Yeah,
like, don't tell me on plant count.
Yeah, exactly. It's ludicrous to think of, but especially in something like you can at your house, you know, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't understand why, if we've legalized cannabis in your state, why now they're still like, yes, we've legalized it, but you can only do that. Alcohol is legal, and they don't say, but you can only consume it at this time or have. They don't even care how much alcohol you have in your house, right? In California, you can only cruise around with an ounce on you, right? But I can cruise around with 6 or 7 handles of vodka, no fucking problem. Like, what a ludicrous idea. You either legalize it or you don't.
Well, yeah. I think it's the state that we're in. The way that the laws came about is from politicians that have their hands actually deep into the cannabis space, either through family members or directly. And so our governor actually had some ties to like Curaleaf and some other
Go figure.
MSOs. And yeah, it's just kind of like they wanted to make it legal to satisfy a group of voters, but then also they had another group of voters that were against it. So it's just kind of like, and they also wanted to make money. So it's just like, what is in the way that we can make you all feel kind of good about this and get it passed type thing, rather than if it made sense. Like none of it makes sense.
Yeah.
But,
I mean,
whatever, that's the law. And so I just had I could have bullshitted Jinx, but he is not a dude I want to bullshit. I really believe in his genetics. I think his Shangri-La, which I am still in the midst of trimming, is probably my favorite strain ever, except for Dosey.
wow.
So it is extremely good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy really is producing some old school fire. He's been in the game for a long time. I want to keep him in the game, and I'm not going to bullshit him. I'd rather him save that opportunity for a tester that is someone that really could fulfill it.
Well, it'll come around, but yeah, that's the benefit, man. Plus, like you said, you're not getting them after 8 free seeds or something. That
well, and good on you, brother, because you enter into these as a partnership, and I think
your words got to mean something.
Right. And if if you're just not able to do it, if it's just not going to work for you, and you said, hey, it's just not going to work, I'm sure he appreciated that,
Oh yeah, he understood, and it's just the way it is. We got to kind of work a little bit in the system we got, and
quite frankly, he does that on purpose, more than likely, right? To keep people to just want to show up. Like, I've had Rudy's beans for way too long. I feel terrible about them. I know just in cycle that I want to get them in, and he said, take your time, when you get them in when you can, but there's still that spot within me that's like, hey, I said I'm going to get those in, and I've got a pot that, as soon as this one's out, I'm ready to load up into it. But it's a partnership, because it's I'm willing to take the risk with Big Green Guy to not know what that is. I think that there's some fun to that, right? Because there's something about being a part of the testing process that in the end, when it was released, there was a certain level of pride, right? I got to be a part of it. Right?
And
it's a partnership.
There's also the trust too, right? Like, especially with the people that you have to, because it's kind of a little segue from me, but a lot of people get caught with that, become a tester scam bullshit. But like, you really should. I mean, Howling didn't mention this episode, but the reason he trusts Jinx, I believe, is because of a lot of his message. Doesn't he donate to help with certain charities and something, Howling?
Well, he has a son that's autistic.
That's right. Yeah.
And so he does a whole lot of outreach with, I think it's families of I forget. It's Pacific Northwest families of autistic children or something. And so he donates a lot of proceeds to them and iPads to help them communicate and all sorts of things. And so, and having a son that's autistic, it just kind of resonates with me. So I want to help him out.
Absolutely. And
maybe someday.
So maybe that's just not the way, brother.
Yeah.
Like, don't give up if it's just, if that's.
Oh no, like I told him, I'm still buying all his seeds still. I own half his catalog as it is, and I still have every intention of still picking up more stuff. I'll support him in that way. I'll still grow his stuff and spread the message. I just might not be
let it marinate, man.
But
let it marinate, because maybe there's a different way, right? Maybe there's a different way that you can help out if it's something that one's a little bit special. I think that's more of what this community needs.
Oh yeah.
Is not just on the surface of the seeds. Like, you've clearly found something, a connection between the two of you. Keep exploring it, man. Maybe there's something else that you can do with him, and if it's not testing, but maybe some other way that you can help to increase his awareness and get other people to be more aware. I didn't know about his this charity, so if this if anyone's listening out there, poke back in and get some information if this is something, because if we can support someone within our community that's doing something outside of the cannabis and using that as a bridge, we should be.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. So, I think that's
great call, Howard.
I think that's one of the things that resonates about Alabrije too is, save the paras. Like
Save the perils, yeah.
anytime that anyone, that's why I was going down with trust. Like as much as BGG is an enigma, and this will be the last time I mention him, I do trust him, right? Even if he is from Boston. And so, he has all good causes. Alabrije has good causes. I don't know Jinx, but you do, obviously. And he has good causes, you can tell. And like, that makes it easier. So if you want to test for a person, like I would recommend looking for someone who you can trust, because there's a lot of fucking scammers out there, I guess is where I'm going. That was my rambling. I'm too high.
And even if you're not in for the testing, right, and you don't want to make that commitment, try to find their stories. Try to find these breeders and know them a little bit more. I mean, I think that was one of the important things for me, was getting to spend an hour on the, in Discord, chatting face to face with Big Green Guy before I committed to it. And I said to him, like, let's meet before, and getting to know them, because there are more layers to these people, and there's more to support in a broader voice that we can get out there for them. So,
damn right.
I think that there's some really cool stuff. So support your breeders, get to know them, I think is the most important thing, and build that layer of trust with them. Because once you trust them and they're sending you free beans, I mean, you think about it, it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Amen.
So,
I think we should also address something before we leave. Last circle, we didn't do shit about the shit list. And I got called out on it like we forgot. And I waited 2 weeks quietly not to go back. But I wanted to point out, we didn't fucking forget the shit list. We've rearranged the shit list. It's all different. So I'm not going to name names, motherfuckers. But I didn't forget. I was told by Stoney to shut the fuck up until we got together now. So we're introducing the new YAG shit list, right? The new circle shit list. Instead of everybody picking someone, we're going to pick one person, and we're all going to say nice things about the motherfucker, because it's just so much easier than, everybody picking someone and, hey, I wanted that guy. Instead of fighting, we're all going to give everybody their just, rewards.
Yeah, like we would start the show by, we kind of jump in, and it's a lot like a jam session. We have no idea what's going on. We sit down and we start scratching notes real quickly and start talking. And there is a lot of this sort of pre-fight of like, oh, this is my shit list, that is my shit list. And so we just decided to let's take an evolution of it. Let's flip it back on its head, and let's say, all right, let's decide at the end of the show. So then for the next couple of weeks, we've got someone in mind, and we can all kind of reach out and start to figure out things a little bit more with this person, understand them a little bit more. So I think it was a cool way to kind of evolve the shit list into one person. So, and so for this week, lay it out there, right?
So for two things, also it helps clarify, we will be redoing, we're starting new. So don't get mad if they've said the name twice, but we're going with the Sacramento fanboy himself, Chuckster, or Charles Budkowski.
CBkowski.
Yeah,
man, on the shit list.
He's going on the shit list. Him and I have been talking a little bit forever. We're good buddies. He's a funny as shit guy. He's up in Sacktown, just north of me. But right now he's got an Amnesia Haze and his second Tangy growing in his 2x4. He just kicked out, I believe it was GG4 or something. I forget, from iGel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He just kicked out to the outdoors, and his Tangy is looking fantastic, man. He's really gotten, I hope he does it before the summer kicks too hot, because it gets fucking hot in Sacramento. State's capital, baby.
That's right. Well, he can come down from the mountain to see you on the coast.
He should.
If you're up there.
I invite him, and he always says, the judge said you had to stay 100 feet away.
Well, Sacramento's a little bit closer to the Sierras, so I love your oceans and I love your lower level mountains, but there is a certain love I've got up in the Sacramento area, and I think clearly the weather outside is incredible for it. I've seen that Meyer lemon bush that he's got growing,
dude.
I cannot wait to. It might be a while before lemons come off of it, but even still, man, just the idea of having a Meyer lemon versus just a regular lemon or a lime out there, speaks a little bit to him. And I've seen him doing a ton of outdoor box building into his garden.
Yeah,
flower
he
beds.
Repurposed with those cinder blocks Those
Yeah,
corner
man.
ones were
Yeah.
badass, man.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think he might be a Ween fan. I'm just kidding. The motherfucker
Steely
loves
Dan
Ween.
too, all the way back, right? Steely Dan. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's an excellent dude. He's like I said, a great member of our Discord, and he's the first official new Yag shitter, the shit list. So if you see him, just call him shit. But
Did you just officially dub him the fucking
the
shitter, dude?
shitter, the first shitter. Don't do that. Now that's mean. I love him too
It's
much.
the
Yeah,
shitter.
he's the shit. No,
You're not CB. You're not a shitter,
he's not.
dude.
He's the first official new Yag shit list. He's a great dude. He is the meme god over in Cultivation Conversation. If you check his profile, he was originally called one of the meme gods.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
him and
You'll see him
Brack.
all around you'll see him on a bunch of different Discords.
Yeah.
He's really active in there, and he's got an incredible garden that he grows. He does incredible stuff. I've seen it. Outdoors, and he's just really active. You see he's really hungry for knowledge too. You always see him exploring. He's always asking questions. He's always looking around, doing research on there. So he's got one of those hungry minds too. And anytime you've got someone with a hungry mind, everything that just falls out behind just leaves this trail of success, is what I always say.
You are also not talking about the most amazing contribution he has had over on I think it was the Alabrije Discord. He posted the picture of the half wolf, half frog.
Oh yeah,
that was awesome, and I'm glad the frog is the ass.
Always.
But I found actually, it actually touched me. I mean, he's not even he wasn't even mentioning it on the Yag Discord. He was over on Alabrije, and he was thinking of us and posted something. And it meant something. I liked it.
He's a good guy. I'd like to thank him for his service, of course. He's a solid dude, and always always shows off amazing fucking art pieces that he created randomly.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I painted this like
Community
10 years ago. And you're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, that's amazing. And he's like, oh yeah, whatever.
That's the creative minds that we've got around here.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So yeah. So thanks, CB, for being a great shitter.
Thanks, Chuck. I love you, Charles. Sorry about living in Sacramento.
It's okay if he's up in the sack, dude. Just remember that.
No, man. When I was younger, right, the Lakers, in the midst of their three-peat, constantly played the Sacramento Kings in the early playoffs, and it would always be really bad, and there'd be fights and shit. Shaq called them the Sacramento Queens and all that bullshit. But yeah, so I have nothing against Sacramento, except for I wasn't allowed to go on a field trip up there because citizenship counts as part of the anyhow.
Yeah, Sacramento's an interesting place.
Yes, it is.
An interesting place, but you're up in the mountains, so that's my advantage. That's where I fall in love with it. So
that's very true. So, my friends, we've gone too long. We miss Johnny so very much, but thank you for joining me. Do you have anything to plug? Howling. Other than disappearing.
No, let me. I'll just. Yeah, that's going to be so fantastic. I'll plug Manny from Autopots, actually.
Right on.
Because I'm going through quite a learning curve with their new system here, and he's been super helpful. And he's like, we've been talking back and forth with some theories about what's going on. And I'm actually hoping that maybe it'll influence how they instruct people to use it.
Hell yeah.
Because there's a few new things that are coming up with this new pot size. And he was like, one of these products we've had success with, he's like, let me send you a sample. Little did I know it's going to be a freaking 1 liter bottle sample.
Jeez.
I mean, it's like, okay, that's just awesome. And he's asking for pictures. And, I just love that kind of customer service where you can talk with someone. They take it personal. Like they're in it with you and trying to make you successful. So that's my shout out.
I do look forward to the Circle episode on Autopots after you've successfully harvested your first.
I got some thoughts.
Yeah. Good. Stoney, my dearest friend.
Big plugs.
Yeah.
Big plug this week. I've got one. I was super fortunate to be on the Cultivation Conversation when they were giving out some prizes, and I was fortunate enough to be number 119 in the draw, and I was the awesome winner of some joint custody seeds.
Ooh.
So they showed up, and I have been in contact with Joint, going back and forth on some Instagram messages, but super fortunate with this. I can't believe this, because this is, of course, now going to push me into the photo world.
Hell
And I
yeah.
think this was maybe the universe telling me it's been a
Get your
year,
ass
because it was
in
right
here.
around that time.
That's what
You're
you
never
fucking
gonna
said.
quit.
That's what you
Yeah,
said months
exactly.
ago. Oh, at a year, I'll
Right.
probably do it. You motherfucking psychic.
See,
Burn
here
the
we go.
witch.
See,
Burn the witch,
and
Howling.
then boom, 119 was the number that I chose, and 120 got drawn. So I was the fortunate one.
You are going to have fun.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, listen to this. I got the neurotoxin. I got the blueberry OJ. I got the blueberry BXT. I got the Kush OJ F2, and the PB and Cray.
Oh,
yeah.
So I'm gonna probably run neurotoxin next. I think that's gonna be one of the next ones.
I was feeling pretty fortunate. I don't win things a lot. So, but he's been back and forth communicating. He reached out right after the show. So a huge plug. Another one of those breeders that I feel like is going to be someone that I'm starting to cultivate some relationship with and just collaborate with. I'm really, really feeling fortunate. So shout out to him. Go check out his website. Check out his photography too. He's done a great job in the website.
His
It's
YouTube,
really,
he has
really
some YouTube
well
videos on organic
Mhm.
autopods. I will say, to go with joints, I've said this before, but he was one of the very first people to say yes to throwing in a prize for the Tangy Grow Along. No questions asked. He's like, yeah, I'll give some seeds, dude. So he's solid all around.
Yeah, so check him out. If you haven't had a chance to, go to Joint Custody Seeds, go look it up, hit the Goog for it. And if not, just start looking around the community, because he's super active in there. He's always on shows. So another one of those to reach out for.
Definitely. I've talked with him on Instagram too. I mean, just an awesome breeder, awesome person. So
super cat. So that's my big plug. So appreciate that from the Cultivation Conversation crew, their prizes that they gave out, but even directly to Joint Custody Seeds. So super cool to support all the community, and with such an overwhelming support for it. So thank you, much appreciated.
What about you, Rev?
Not really. I've accomplished nothing. No, I think go check out Tamac Engine. No, I'm just kidding. No,
for all your engineering needs.
No, I'm just fucking with you guys. Yeah, no, man. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks everybody for being a part of the community and being friends, guys. I appreciate you.
Thanks for digging what we do.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Also, I will say sorry about the latency in some of the uploads. Johnny and I have been super busy. Kind of, that's why he's not here too. Just kind of busy life, nothing big, just fucking spring is sprung.
Shifting into summer.
Man.
Summer's coming in just a couple of weeks, guys.
I guess it's time for us all to go to our lake house. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Have fun. Enjoy the week. We'll see you soon.